4-3. And we are back, folks, here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the Big1050.com. Sam Webb, Mr. Ira Weintraub on the other side, and the MGoBlog Roundtable crew is in the house, fresh off of what wound up being a game that I think I tweeted aged a few years in the span of a few hours. As the Wolverines rescued a victory from the jaws of defeat, thankfully, as they found a way, despite 5 turnovers, to win a game down at Wrigley Field, which was an amazing, amazing venue to watch a football game. And joining me to reflect, to look ahead, the MGoBlog Roundtable crew, starting with the man who started it all at the blog, starting with Brian Cook. Brian, good morning. How are you?
I'm well.
Seth Fisher, how are you this morning?
My washing machine is broken, and I've been working very, very, very hard on this. So if anybody knows 1990s GE washers really well, reach out. I am desperate. I replaced all the pieces. I also, like an idiot, I sat in really good seats for a baseball game, so I couldn't see the football game at all. So I'm not quite agreeing that Wrigley Field is a great venue for watching football.
Well, I think I guess from the standpoint of the feel of it, maybe I didn't have the best sight line in the press box. I mean, it was obstructed, but it was the feeling. It was the feeling of being there. I guess that's what I was taking.
I met Lori Lightfoot, wonderful person.
Craig Ross, how are you this morning?
I'm fine. I'm envious that Seth met Lori Lightfoot and I didn't. But everyone who went, I did not go, seemed to really enjoy it. Maybe you two guys didn't. But
Lori doesn't read MGoBlog, but she's pretty sure she knows people who do. There's our plug.
All right. But yeah, people seem to think it was a great environment. At least it was a warm day, and it was mostly Michigan fans. I heard 90%, 95% even Michigan fans there. So aside from the game, it sounds like it was, a lot of fun.
Yeah, it wound up being a game that's, you saw a quarterback start out playing his best football. Then he dipped, Brian Cook, and was playing maybe his worst. And then he bounced back and played his most clutch football. And that was all in the span of one game.
Well, he's a freshman, right? This is what happens. Like, this is the third game that Bryce Underwood has lost Michigan for being a freshman quarterback, and they haven't lost any of them, so that's great. But I mean, it's really just 3 bad plays, right? Like, and I'm not even sure if I'm mad about the second interception, because they've been playing that cat and mouse game all day, and he's had a couple of successful opportunities to go past Fitzgerald's head on those RPO slants, and Fitzgerald is stopping on those RPO slants earlier in the game, and Underwood's able to throw it by him a couple of times, and I just feel like that's more of an offensive coordinator interception to me. Like, you've called this play over and over and over again, and the safety's getting wise to it. Like, that's once too many times back to the well. The first one, it was real bad. There's no sugarcoating that one, especially because Marsh is wide open down the field. But when not doing that, he was very, very good. Like, his RPO reads were on point. His accuracy was much better. Like, sometimes those throws where there's an interference penalty, the throw gets overlooked. But that throw to Tonielli in the end zone that drew the flag, that's off his back foot. It's into coverage, but the guy's not looking for the ball, and that's as accurate as it can possibly be. So, the last couple weeks he's felt a little off. Like, his accuracy just hasn't been there, and it was back in this game. He was incredibly accurate, very accurate on both the interceptions even. And the RPO elements of this offense really helped out when this was an aggressive quarters defense that Michigan. I've charted Michigan playing this defense over and over again because this was D'Antonio's approach, and Michigan never had a plan for it. Never. Like, they just ate it. They just, look, this safety is going to tackle me at the line of scrimmage, and I have no answer for this. And Michigan had answers in this game, and that's why they were so effective moving the ball. Now, they weren't effective at turning those yards into points, but I think they got 70% of their available yards. In every way except the scoreboard, this was a huge blowout. And to me, that's more important than the actual score of the game, because we're talking about an offense that had 6 freshmen on it and lost Jordan Marshall. And that's the kind of thing that happens when you have guys who are young and promising. They're going to play well for big chunks of the game, but then they're going to make some critical mistakes. That's what happened. The success rates were great. The explosiveness was great. Like I felt very good about that game, even though Michigan had to win it with a last-second field goal.
Yeah, Seth.
Yeah, man. I want to get back to the RPOs real quick, because I think that not only were they a great response to the quartered system, which we have coached well against before, but I think 2015 Michigan State is not everybody's best memory. It was a great way also to kind of get Bryce feeling comfortable. I thought he starts making some passes early on. He's whipping them by the guy's ear, and he gets that confidence. And that's one thing I think that we were lacking in the last in the 2 games before this, where he just he doesn't really get going in the first quarter, and then we're just chasing it, right? We're just trying to get Bryce feeling comfortable again. They ran that split flow RPO 10 times. I've never seen a team call the same play 10 times in one game, and it's all one play, like different running plays connected to it. But most of the time, he was pulling and actually throwing. Now, we got away with some guys downfield a whole bunch of times on those, but that's going to happen on RPOs. But I think it was a really good response, not just to the team, but also trying to get Bryce just into the game, right? And at the end, there were 3 bad plays. You can also name 3 plays that were just as good, especially that throw to Marsh on the sideline on 3rd and 10. There's not a whole lot of other places he could put that. And you go and you trust your receiver and you're under pressure. Like, that is a baller throw at a baller moment, and that bailed out Michigan. And then he also had some plays where he broke the pocket and then gets the first down when it looks like somebody could close down on him because they were spying him. So I think Bryce showed you what that talent was. If someone's complaining about how much they're spending on Bryce right now, first of all, don't. It's not your money. Second,
Great.
He looked like it. Hey, that's what a 5-star freshman looks like. And that's what we have. We have a freshman, but also a 5-star. And that's what he looked like one in this game.
Yeah. I think this, as Brian said, this game, the way the game played out is more important than the score. I think both you guys called Sam. I don't know what Sam did, but Seth and Brian, I think, picked Michigan to go 9-3 this year. And so they're sort of what you guys expected, I think, by and large, at least in terms of big picture. I was an outlier. I believe I had them at 10-2 and beating Ohio State. I don't think that one's happening, but who knows? Maybe we'll get terrible weather or something will happen. It has in the past, but I think in terms of how the game played out, it's hard not to be heartened. But because Michigan actually did play very well, except for 5 turnovers, they actually played a pretty good game against a team that I felt was reasonably or very well coached. I just have one thing to say about Samaj, who's taking a lot. I felt badly for Samaj. I mean, here he gets a punt, and he must have gotten hit a punt return 5 times, and he keeps fighting through it and fighting through it and fighting through it. And of course, in the end, he fumbles. He actually does recover the ball. An official who doesn't see it has no clue as to what has happened. It wasn't possible that she could have, because there's like 3 players in front of her.
The guy gets up and he's like, "Who's got the ball?" And she points to him. He's like, "You do." He's like, "Okay," and he leaves.
Yeah. Right. And so I mean, regardless of that, I'm not complaining about the officiating so much as feeling bad. Is feeling bad for Samaj, who's had a tough time this year, and that one sort of encapsulated it for me, because he really was trot. I mean, you couldn't ask for more effort from any player than what you saw in that play. But didn't work. So in any event.
Yeah. So a couple of things. Yeah, I thought that the RPO precision execution was excellent. Somebody in the chat was like he wasn't reading the RPO. Yes, he was. I mean, he executed everything you wanted to do. You could do from as far as RPOs. Even the third option, I looked over to Steve Clark next to me on one and said, "Oh, he just ran that RPO," and so he was on point. I mean, he was really dialed in. But what was really impressive to me was to start that drive when they went right down the field to open the game. You know, you think that they are going to get him in a groove with his layup, which I consider his layup to be RPOs. And there was only one RPO on that drive, and it was the touchdown that they took off the board. You know, it was drop back passing down the field. And I was like, man, wow. Clearly they were working. He was working in the bye week to get some rhythm, to get some timing, to get some comfort. He made some strides. Now, you know, you got to sustain it, you got to maintain it. But that was encouraging to see. And then you really start to see the RPOs kind of ramp up in the second drive. But you know, you come out the gate in those first two drives, you saw balance, you saw drop back passing, you saw RPOs. It's just unfortunate that they weren't able to come out of that with 2 touchdowns, because if they come out of those first 2 drives 14-0, you just feel like it's a different game at that point.
Yeah, man, and I think the holding call was hideous. But there's 2 sides to to that equation, right? To the passing equation, and the other side of that is Andrew Marsh. And if I could pick a player who I want to be seeing things out of right now, it's the other side of, you know, the Bryce Marsh connection, because that guy's also a true freshman, right? So these guys can develop a rapport. They have years to play with each other, and we're going to get to see them next year and the year after that. And he's the one who made that catch on the sideline, and that was more him than Bryce. You know, I talked about that as a Bryce throw. That's a Marsh catch, right? Getting those feet down, getting that body control, making it so obvious that when we're watching the replay for 4 hours, because Fox likes to have a 3-minute commercial whenever they get an opportunity, where we're just like, there's no Northwestern fan. There's only 4 of them in the stadium, but all 4 of them were like, yeah, that's a catch.
I think Brian made a great point, though. He called the second interception. You called that an OC interception. I think the OC probably agrees to a certain extent, because he called a different game for Bryce after that. I mean, you saw he kind of put him on the move. He was he was calling passes, outside hashes.
To be clear, I don't want to dump on Chip Lindsey, who I thought had a great outing. Like, I thought his plan for this game was great. It's just, that one is one too many times, and I think that's understandable. And I'm very pleased with how it's going with him. I think he's a great fit for Underwood.
Yeah, I agree. But in that moment, we saw him adjust.
Yeah,
we saw the OC kind of adapt to where the quarterback was, because to your point, I mean, that same RPO, the one before that, Fitzgerald tipped it, right? And so he's kind of giving you context clues that I'm on to this. And to me, he kind of had some clues that an RPO was coming even before the snap of the ball. And so he was dialed in.
He started stopping. So what would happen is that at the decision point, he was charging at the line of scrimmage. Bryce would pull, and then he would stop. And so that McCulley slant that almost went the distance when it was 2nd and 11, that was one of those events, and Bryce was able to put it by him, so he couldn't deflect it. So, like, they had moments where Fitzgerald was trying to stop and make a play and couldn't do it. And then, he just got increasingly more locked in on it as the game progressed. Now, I got to shout out that Fitzgerald kid. He is awesome. Like, he should be an all Big Ten safety. He was amazing. Like, these guys don't leave Northwestern, but if he's got eligibility, I'm tampering with him. Like I have all the respect in the world for that guy. That guy is a player. And Michigan really had to deal with him, and that a lot of their game plan was like, how do we deal with this guy? Because he was a great. He had 15 tackles in this game, and his average depth of tackle was 2.4 yards. That is crazy for a safety, even a cover 4 safety. And he didn't miss a single tackle. Like he made the interception. Like he's a player.
Yeah, and so if you look at it from the perspective of, you can fail forward, you can have a tough game and win, but boy, you can grow from it. He had a great start, talking about Bryce now, had a tough middle and came back in the end, and you just faced one of the better safeties you're gonna see. Boy, that is great experience to have. Terrific experience to have, because to me, after that first interception, you could just see how it affected him. And so if he can draw from this game, look, man, I was able to come back. I was still able to lead the team. If he can not lose that edge, that sort of swagger that he had early in the game, because he did lose a little something. He had to kind of regain it. And I think Chip did a good job of giving him some things that were more in his comfort zone. I think his teammates did a good job of picking them up. I think obviously Andrew Marsh made some big plays, and then Bryce did a good job of rediscovering. Like, he went out and made some plays. But I think from this experience, if he can never kind of lose that Superman feeling, that'll be one of the better things that you can draw from this too, in addition to the experience of how you deal with some of the things he dealt with playing against a Fitzgerald like he did in this game.
Well, Caleb Downs has never lost a game to Michigan at Michigan Stadium, so we'll see how he does against Caleb.
Yeah, I think we're all feeling pretty good about the Michigan offense. I mean, at least prospectively, saying, we got a team coming back next year that looks like massive upside. But what did you think about the defense in this game, Seth, and maybe even a little bit going forward, what they're going to need to do next year to?
The defense was fine this year, fine in this game. The only thing with next year is that, like, most of the players who are playing really well are out of eligibility or might leave for the NFL. I think might get Roller back. I'm sure he's going to, explore. But I think, it's, the injury situation might scare some people off. But like the other guys who are really performing well, it's Barham had a pretty good game when I got through the charting. I want to get into something, people know that I dog on Wink. I like something that Wink did in this game. He took his 5-2 personnel and then turned them back into a 4-3 by having like this Aztec thing. They had Houseman kind of roving around behind, and then Barham got to play linebacker again. I love Barham as a blitzing linebacker. There is just nothing, because it tells you they can't block him with a running back. They tried one time and he ran right by the guy, and then Houseman got to run by too, and that was actually the touchdown they threw, but it was a pick. There was no way they get that out if it wasn't a pick. So, the guys who are playing really well are, for the most part, seniors. Now, Hillman had a really good game. He's really come around since the USC game. He sat out, I think, the Washington game, and he played really well against State. Played really well in this one. I think he's really coming around. Mason Curtis, other than one play where he just kind of might have lost the ball in the sun when he, that one where he's flailing and he kind of misses it. And that happened to Zeke Berry a couple of times too. That's just going to happen to receivers, right? And that's most of what Northwestern got, where these chunk plays. Now, otherwise, they were just getting set up at midfield, and then Michigan would give up 10 yards and get a stop. And credit to Northwestern, they made a couple plays, but for the most part, that was a good offensive line, and the defensive line shut them down. That was not Preston Stone's worst game, and he had some throws where the receiver made a play. And I think you got to work on a little bit of that, like that point of contact and a little desperation at that moment. But this was fine. The only thing I'm worried about with the defense is that a lot of the guys I like the most, Derek Moore and whatnot, are gone, and they can't get pass rush naturally. especially when he's not on the field. TJ Guy is kind of, Caleb Tiernan was the limit. He pretty much owned Guy, and that's concerning because Ohio State's got a pretty decent tackle as well, and we're not going to have natural pass rush, and so we're looking at that 2022 game and saying, okay, how do we win that? You're going to have to be really good in coverage. In this game, for the most part, they were. When Northwestern got a reception, the guy was covered, and the guy had to make a play. And if that's going to happen, that's going to happen. You can't do better than that.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm ahead of myself, but I'd like to ask Sam, and maybe you guys, can you get tackles in the portal? Because they're going to need defensive tackles, aren't they, next year?
They got tackles in the portal this year. They're just innings eaters. They're not stars.
Right.
But
yeah.
I think you can get innings eaters, and it's possible that you're able to find a guy at a lower level who's kind of on that Brady Norton track, who busts out early in their career and clearly is destined for bigger things. But getting a high-end difference-making defensive tackle in the portal is very difficult.
Yeah, and so here's the question: where are you going to spend? Are you going to spend top dollar everywhere?
Yeah,
because I don't know that the well is sort of bottomless. I don't know that you can go out and get like a big time, pass rushing edge. I don't know that you go out and get a big time receiver. I don't know that you can go out and get a, big time. Are you going to go out and try to get multiple receivers? I've heard talk of that, not just one, but a couple of receivers that you might try to go out and get. So,
you have some big
money.
You have some big guys coming off the books. Benny's coming off the books. Derek Moore's coming off the books, right? So we have, and there's a lot of guys. There's not a whole lot of seniors that you're going to have to pay a lot to retain this year. Like Jimmy Rolder might be like the best senior who has like has an NFL decision to make. I think defensive tackles, there's a lot of times where you have something that you don't realize you got because it takes them a while.
Here's what's going to happen. What's going to happen. So you're right that you're going to have to pay like if you want a Jimmy Rolder, Zeke Berry, you're definitely going to have to pay Suge more money. But you don't think you're going to have to pay a Babalola a big raise to keep him? You don't think you're going to have to pay what's the freshman corner who hasn't played a lot?
Shamari.
You don't think you have to pay him a lot of money to keep him? You don't think you have to do that?
Well, everybody has a budget, right? And it's going to be about the same. And then it's about how much legitimate NIL can you get through the clearinghouse. And like for me, if you're looking at next year's portal needs, I do think they need a wide receiver. I don't necessarily think they need two, because you have Browder, you have Washington, and I think Goodwin is a guy who a lot of people have written off because he's struggling at a redshirt freshman, but they've been using him as this tiny tight end type. And so I think they think that there's a little something there. And, I think that's all you need on offense. I don't think you need an offensive lineman. I don't think you need anything. Like, I think you need a wide receiver. And then everything else in the portal, you can focus on defense and just see what you're able to do there. And really defensively, it's all about the line. Like, they'll be fine at linebacker. They'll have Sullivan and hopefully Rolder as their starters next year. They should be fine at corner as long as Hill comes back. We'll see. They have safeties. Like, to me, it's just what can you get on the defensive line? And, we've seen ends come, like, Josiah Stewart, Jared Verse. Like, you can get ends. Tackles, that's tough.
Yeah, that's an expensive proposition. Now, we have seen a little bit of Manny Beigel this year, and he looked decent in the moments I saw him. There's David Pale kind of looks good on the hoof. Like, there are guys, defensive tackles, until they're ready, they're not ready, right? Like, there's a lot of times where there's like a redshirt freshman defensive tackle on your roster who will be good next year, and you do not want that guy in the field right now. Monty Smith was like that. Like,
everybody is like looking at what happened with Graham and Grant and being like, "Well, these guys aren't good," but that's you're never going to see that again, right? That's
Right.
never going to happen again. I mean, like if you look at next year's two deep without any additions, it's probably Pierce, Etta, Poly, and Beagle, which seems okay. Like I think Pierce has upside to be a draftable player, and Etta was a top 100 player ish. And then I think people like both Poly, and Beagle, so like I think they're okay there. Like I don't think that they're going to be great, but also it doesn't feel like they're going to be a disaster zone. But like, can you get a difference maker there? And then at end,
I think you look, but I guess my point to Seth is like if you see a top defensive tackle, and then you see a top receiver, and you see a top edge, and you see a top corner, you might have some choice. You're gonna have some choices to make. I don't think you can say Michigan is gonna go get all those guys, right? I think everyone has some choices to make.
Yeah, but you're gonna have to make You're gonna have to make some choices. I think defensive tackle, you probably should go get an innings eater anyway, just because those guys are valuable. We've had those guys come through before. I don't think they need to. The first thing I would do with defensive tackle, I would look at if there's any. I'd go to Ike Awuna and be like, how many times were you injured in your career? And if he says anything but 2 years, I'm going to say, no, you're lying. They're like that guy. he played 3 snaps in this game, and 2 of them I was like, oh, I can play. I don't know why he's still behind, because he's a 5th-year senior, and they have 2 transfers, one from Clemson, one from Alabama. They're playing above him, but every time I see Ike play, it's only little bits. It's not like I have a good bit of evidence, but I'd like to see a little bit more of that, and I would really like it if he had eligibility next year, and I could be looking at that guy and be like, oh, that's our guy next year. But my point is, you have, Rayshon Benny as a redshirt freshman was not a great player. Rayshon Benny as a redshirt sophomore was a piece on a national championship team. So that's you probably can look at they probably know that they have some guys that are coming up, and it's not like they have to go and rebuild the defensive line. That edge spot, they probably do need to get an edge. I would absolutely get it. If you can find somebody like that, you can find guys, right? You can find them from Coastal Carolina like they did with Josiah Stewart. Who's the guy they brought up from Central? Mike Dana.
Mike Dana.
Yeah. So like you can find those guys at lower levels, and they're going to have interest in going to Michigan. I think they might have a couple guys coming up, like Adepayi or something like that. Might be useful next year. They got some freshmen. Nate Marshall might be good next year if he wants to stick around. Yeah. So like they can get some jumps but they got to see what they got coming in, and they know better than we do, right? So but yeah, you got to probably get a defensive tackle just for an innings eater and get an edge. You got to get an edge.
And see, the thing about those young guys, and this is the tough thing about the portal, you're going to have to pay some of those guys, because some of those guys might be ready to leave, because everybody's poaching. So unless you can sort of kind of tier those guys as far as your depth chart and pay, and give them pay increases, some of those guys that we're talking about are going to be ready to hit the portal for what they see as not only increases in pay, but increases in playing time too. So that also affects what you can do as far as your available resources to go out in the portal and secure guys. You're trying to secure your roster with guys who haven't played. You got to pay guys who haven't played on the prospect that you feel like you've developed them enough to kind of step up.
At the other positions, they don't mind using a guy who's got some juice if he's young, right? They put some. We have critical plays where like true freshman linebackers are on the field, and I get it. That's because like you want those guys feeling like they're part of the team. But then you have critical pass rush downs, and you got a primo pass rush opportunity, and you're giving it to Cam Brandt, who's not a pass rusher. And if I'm a pass rusher on this, if I'm at Adepayi or I'm Marshall on this team, and you see Brandt getting that 3rd down spot, and you're like, well, who am I? Now, maybe there's something going on in practice that we're not seeing, right? But you have guys who came in as pass rushers who've shown you a little bit of pass rush, and that's just a pass rush down. There's no secret. There's no and Northwestern doesn't tempo, so you're gonna get them off the field. It's not like you're worried about that. It's just we have one opportunity on a 3rd and 7 to go and have a wide angle pass rush against Caleb Tiernan. Who gets this job? and they gave it to Cam Brandt. And if I'm a young pass rusher, I'd be upset about that.
We need to get to a break. When we come back on the other side, just a quick scouting report on Maryland. And then when we come back, we'll get you guys' take on the private equity pause that is happening in the Big Ten now. So we'll do that on the other side here. The Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTK, online at the big1050.com.
Clear on the radio.
So they were asking who is the next Max. I mean, I think Jalen Hoffman, and then the young fella they got from Tennessee,
Eli Owens.
There will never be another Max Bredesen.
Yeah, there will.
No.
Yes, there will.
That is the greatest fullback in the history of football.
Well, he's damn good. I agree with you. But Kevin Dudley in later year or two was pretty damn good.
I know. And all respect to him and Chris Floyd. There's no competition.
Okay. You may be right.
Chris Floyd. Yeah, Chris Floyd. Yeah, they talk about a fullback who I think put the fear of God in people.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but fullbacks were still running backs back then too.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Bo had a guy here. You guys probably before your time. His name was Perryman. Do you remember? And he might have been he might have been our leading rusher at fullback one year. More than the tailback, and he was tough to bring down. Also a good blocker. But that goes back.
Yeah, well, they put Rob Lytle at fullback too, but Rob Lytle almost won the Heisman that year. And you can go back and say fullbacks used to be running backs.
Who else was in the backfield with Lytle? I'm trying to think. There must have been a reason that they wanted to get
Gordy Bell.
Maybe that's right. Maybe it was Gordon Bell.
Hustleby, I think.
Gordon Bell was a phenomenal runner.
What about Jared Bunch back in the day?
Oh, he was a great fullback. Bo loved his fullbacks too, but it was a little different game.
If you want to go all the way back, Neil Snow was a great fullback too. We're talking about
Neil Snow. That was like 1901.
What we're saying is that what a fullback is today is a tight end who's there to block out of the backfield. And Bredesen, he's picked up penalties this year just for over blocking a guy. They're not used to somebody going down because they don't see somebody blocked as hard on the edge as Bredesen blocks people.
At least twice this year, he pancaked guys and got holding penalties because he pancaked them, which was awful. But
yeah, I wonder if we see, if we don't see Jordan. I'm not saying we won't, not giving away, but if we didn't see Jordan against Maryland, would Max would he get a little more shine out of the backfield in this game? So
back on radio in about 1 minute.
Running the ball? I don't think so.
Just a touch or two. Just a touch or two.
I mean, I guess a couple of times, but the thing that is appealing to me about that is that quarterback run with Bredesen leading it out seems like pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, are you gonna have Bryce blocking for Bredesen? Like, that would be fun to see once, right? If they get up on Maryland,
no thanks.
He did it. He did it once early in the season. He blocked for Haynes on a touchdown. Remember?
Yeah, I don't think that was by design, though, was it?
No, absolutely not. It would be fun for the.
You can imagine the fan response if Bryce got hurt on a play where he's designed to block.
Fire everybody.
Fire everybody. Exactly.
And we're back in 5, 4, 3.
Folks here on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTKA, online at the big1050.com. Before we get back to the roundtable, Want those of you who are in the market for a new vehicle know you should get on board with Brighton Ford. Why? Because Brighton Ford is where your next adventure begins. Ready to take the wheel of your dream Ford? Well, at Brighton Ford, it's more than just buying a car. It's stepping into a lifestyle of power, performance, and possibility. Feel the thrill, take it for a spin, and drive it home today. Experience the Brighton Ford difference where excitement meets excellence. If you're leasing a car already, make the switch seamlessly. Brighton Ford will pick up your current lease and deliver your new Ford right to your doorstep. No hassle. No stress. And for even more convenience, their trained technicians can now come to your home or workplace with their service vehicles equipped to handle many routine maintenance services on site. All you got to do is call 1-800-NEW-FORD and get on board with Brighton Ford. Guys, real quick, just a few words about Mike Loxley's crew. He got a vote of it's cheaper to keep you from Maryland, so he's there for another year at least. What will Michigan see with these Terrapins who have, I think they're losers of 6 straight? What do they bring to the table?
Well, they're very youthful. They're starting a freshman quarterback. They have a ton of freshmen on defense. So they've been fairly decent at racking up yards, but like Michigan, they've not turned that into points. They have no ground game. Like Roman Hemby transferred to Indiana. Their offensive line is shaky. Washington is a mobile guy, and he's going to be a threat with his legs. And Michigan is a little janky, and it's the week before Ohio State, and sometimes they just kind of come out and play like butt the week before Ohio State. So, I'm not saying it's going to be a blowout, but this should be a solid win.
Yeah, just watch out for Shalik Knots. They're gonna throw downfield. They're gonna challenge Michigan's defenders to make plays one-on-one, and that it's good that Northwestern got them a few times because it's going to be a focus this week.
Yeah, they haven't been as bad as you might think with 6 straight losses. If you look at their net yards per pass attempt, they're not terrible. And the quarterback has some ability, but their run game is a cipher. I don't think their defense is outstanding. But, Michigan, as you guys say, Michigan's had trouble before in this game. Often. The worst I recall is a Ball State game going way back, but there's been some others. So they should win. Michigan should win this one.
All right. So we've been talking about this private equity deal. Is it accurate to call this investment group private equity? This investment group?
More or less, yes. I know that it's not Bain or whatever, but functionally it's the same. The deal is they're betting that they'll make more money than they're giving the Big Ten, and they're probably right. So why would we do it?
Well, the reason for that is every school, I think, except one right now in the Big Ten is underwater. And
so it's a 10% stake for basically 20-year agreement for a 10% stake in the media rights.
Right.
In the media rights, this new media rights in this new entity that they're spinning off that they would be a part of. And it's basically like they'd be like a pseudo member. That's how I'm sort of conceptualizing it. Them having this 10% stake, but they're kind of couching it or spinning it like, hey, they wouldn't really have any say with sort of how individual departments run their business, what happens on individual campuses. We won't not infringing upon you at all. This is just about the 10% stake in the media business for 20 years into the future. It's making it sound as innocent as possible. We know it's not that innocent. You got 2 schools who have said this doesn't pass the sniff test. Now, give me your guys' take on all of that.
So there's 2 reasons why the other Big Ten schools want this. Okay, number one, a lot of them want to get out of the current debt cycle they're in. It used to be a great idea to get as much building debt as possible because, number one, you can kind of call that whatever you want to for Title IX purposes. It goes on the ledger as whatever you want to build, right? You make updates to Breslin, that's a women's basketball thing. Now you spent just as much money on women as men. So that was one thing. They had that system worked well for them before they wanted to redirect money towards players, right? So now you have this this new entity in the system, the old system doesn't work for them, and just being in constant debt, because remember, these are nonprofits and they're making a lot of money. They have to make the money disappear into something. They have to spend it. So that was one reason. The second reason is that 20 years you talked about. Michigan there's a lot of Michigan. No one was going to question whether Michigan was going to be in the Big Ten when it was 11 or 12 or 12 schools. Once it got to 14, it's like, kind of, what are we doing? Why are we sharing so much money with these guys? Once it got to 18, it's not really the Big Ten conference anymore. And it's not being run like a conference anymore. It's not like we're all getting together and having an educational conference and then talking about how we want to make sure our football teams run anymore. That's not what we're doing here anymore. It's just a TV contract. It's who do you want to have a TV contract with? And when you look around right now at the Big Ten schools and how they act towards Michigan and who's in charge of this thing, do you want to spend another 20 years with them? Now, Michigan State absolutely needs to get Michigan and Ohio State locked down. They are dead if they don't have a share of Michigan and Ohio State money. They are a MAC team if they don't get in, because what's going to happen is the Super League. The teams that can afford it in the SEC and the Big Ten are going to go and create something on their own, and they're going to leave out anybody who's not pulling their weight. Indiana, I know they're good now, but Indiana's not an athletic department that's going to do it. Purdue, Northwestern, Michigan State, they are desperate to get Michigan's name on there. So, and then 20 years of media rights, because then they control Michigan's media rights for 20 years. And Michigan has no reason to sign this. They can get out of their debt problem, right? They have the same system as everyone else, but Michigan can get out of that. And Michigan does not have any need to give away the value that they have in this conference, especially the way that this conference acts towards Michigan. So they're nuts if they think Michigan's going to sign it. And they, the other thing is, these are athletic directors who want a cash infusion, right? They're getting a big chunk of money right now. That gets them out of their debt system. And that also, hey, look at our ledger this year. I did well. And they're not even going to be here in 10 years when this bill comes due. So they don't care.
That's true. And I appreciate Jordan Acker and not Sam Bernstein,
Richard
Bernstein for speaking out about this. And that is I don't think we've seen any other regions for any other universities be this explicit about what this is. And Bernstein characterizing it as a payday loan is a very crystallizing phrase, because that's exactly what it is. You're getting some money up front, and you're going to be paying exorbitantly on the back end for that money. And Michigan doesn't need to do this. And frankly, I don't trust the leadership of this conference, and I never will, after what happened in 23, where a feckless Tony Petitti bought a story that was ludicrous on its face. And then when Michigan won the Big Ten championship, he slunk away without saying a word. He's a coward, and he's an idiot, and he should not be running this conference.
Yeah, I could not agree more. Credit to the regents, Acker and Bernstein in particular.
Mark, by the way.
It's Mark. I said Richard. Oh, sorry. Apologies. But congrats to them.
Yeah.
USC is only balking because they're not getting as much as Michigan. I mean, their position isn't really. I mean, Michigan and Penn State and Ohio State are getting 190 million, I think, is the number, and I think USC is getting like 140, and that's why they're pissed. That they don't care about any of the rest of this, and so in some sense, it's only Michigan that's taken the point that this is stupid, because it is.
So is it stupid because of the length, or is it the premise of being in bed with private equity that's a non-starter?
Or all the above?
Well, it's like these things where, like, Chicago sells its parking meter revenue for 50 years. Mm-hmm. And the company that's buying the parking meter revenue has looked at it and says, we're going to make a profit on this, so we should do it. And so if you're a citizen of Chicago and you're looking at this, it's like, okay, if they think it's a good idea, why are we doing it? It's like when you buy something on Amazon that costs like $100, and it's like, would you like insurance on this purchase? And I'm like, no, because you're offering the insurance at a cost for a reason, right? There's no synergy here. There's no way that adding this capital right now is going to improve the bottom line down the road. there are certain situations when it makes sense because you need to grow, you need to like do stuff, you need the infusion of capital to get where you're going to go. This is a football conference. In the future, they will be playing football. There's no upside here, and it's short-sighted, and it's symptomatic of a lot of the elite failure we see in this country, where they don't think about the long term because they don't care. Like they're just executives, and they're looking for the bottom line to look as nice as possible, and that's why you see a lot of people capitulating on these lawsuits that are ridiculous, because they have no spine, they have no backbone, and I get real frustrated about this in sort of a more society-wide thing, but I think this is just a symptom of what we're seeing. And you can poke any fan and they will be like, this is a bad idea. Nobody thinks it's a good idea because they understand that if there is a private equity company that thinks they will make money off a deal, they're right. And the money that they will be making off the deal will be coming out of their pockets.
Yeah, and from Michigan's point of view, I'd see almost no reason for it. But go ahead, Sam.
Yeah, I was only saying we got to close here.
Yeah.
We actually will pick this discussion up tomorrow. We're going to have Ward Manuel in the studio in this hour, in the 9 o'clock hour, to talk about this very topic. So tune in then. Until then, the folks, we got to get out of here. We'll see you tomorrow on the Michigan Insider on the Big 1050 WTK, online at the Big 1050.